Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something really fascinating, a scientific achievement that honestly most people thought was basically impossible until just now. We're looking at some really groundbreaking research out of the University of Glasgow. It's published in Neurophotonics, Radiford and colleagues 2025, and our mission today to figure out how scientists actually managed to detect photons, tiny bits of near-infrared light that went all the way through an adult human head, diametrically. I mean, this really shatters that old idea of a 4 centimeter wall for optical brain imaging. It's not just a small step, it feels like a foundational proof of principle, something that could maybe make deep brain imaging much more accessible, Fill a big gap we have in neuroimaging tools.
Exactly. And it's worth remembering the challenge here. Historically, seeing deep with light was just off the table. Light scatters like crazy inside the head, the skull, white matter. It's incredibly dense stuff optically.
Yeah.
So photons just lose their strength almost immediately as they go deeper. Structures like the hippocampus, the amygdala, forget it, way too deep.
Yeah.
The signal loss they overcame here was estimated at something like 10 to the power of 18. That's just astronomical attenuation.
Okay. 10 to the 18th. That is immense. So the big question then is, how on earth did they actually do it? How did they pull that off?
Well, it was a really clever experimental setup. They used a pretty powerful laser, 1.2 watts, pulsed at 800 nanometers. But crucially, they used a large beam diameter, 25 millimeters, which is important for safety reasons. You can't just focus that much power.
Right. Safety first.
Definitely. And then on the other side of the head, they had an incredibly sensitive detector, a photomultiplier tube, or PMT, running in what's called single photon counting mode. So it literally counts individual light particles. And they paired this with TC-SPC, time-correlated single photon counting. Think of it like an ultra-precise stopwatch for photons.
A stopwatch for photons. Okay.
Yeah, it lets them filter out all the scattered photons that took longer, wiggly paths.
Yeah.
They focused only on the ones that arrived fastest, the ones taking the most direct route through. This time-of-flight information was absolutely key to isolating that tiny, tiny signal.
Okay, so advanced tech. But I heard there was something else too. Like, it wasn't just about the hardware. They found something about how the light actually travels.
Yes, and this is where it gets really, really interesting. It wasn't just brute force detection. Their computer simulations were critical here. They simulated, trillions and trillions of photons using Monte Carlo methods, like 7.24 times 10 to the 13 photons modeled. And these simulations revealed something totally unexpected. The cerebrospinal fluid, the CSF, the fluid bathing the brain.
Yeah, the cushiony stuff.
Exactly. It turns out it acts like a natural, like a light pipe or a light guide. It actually channels photons through the head more efficiently than the surrounding brain tissue does.
No way. So the fluid helps the light get through.
It seems so. It sort of reframes the whole problem, doesn't it? It suggests there are these sort of clearer pathways for light that we never really considered. It's not just scattering everywhere uniformly.
That's fascinating. Okay, so they can get light through, they can detect it, and the CSF helps. But what does this actually mean for us? Why should you, listening now, care about light passing through your head?
Well, it raises a really important point.
Yeah.
The photons they detected weren't just skimming the surface. They clearly interacted with deep structures. We're talking cortical folds, the midbrain, even parts of the deep cerebellum. This is direct proof of sensitivity way, way beyond that old 4 centimeter limit. It really does open the door for true deep brain functional imaging with light.
And if we put this into the bigger picture, compared to other brain imaging, where does it fit?
Yeah, that's a great question. Think about fMRI or PT scans. They give you amazing deep brain detail, but they're huge, expensive. You have to lie perfectly still.
Right. Hospital-only machines.
Pretty much. Then you have things like FNIRs or EEG. Much more portable, cheaper, great for surface activity. But they don't really see deep.
Okay.
This new approach could potentially bridge that gap, give us deep brain access like the big scanners, but maybe, eventually, with the portability and lower cost closer to FNIRs or EEG.
So what kind of applications are we dreaming about here?
Oh, the potential is huge. Imagine portable devices in ambulances for stroke patients, getting real-time data on deep blood flow before they even reach the hospital.
Yeah.
That could be life-saving.
Wow. Yeah.
Or in psychiatry. Think about tracking activity in emotional circuits, like the amygdala, for depression. Not just a snapshot in a lab, but maybe longitudinal tracking in someone's everyday life.
Truly personalized treatment monitoring.
That would be incredible. Then there's brain-computer interfaces, BCIs. Reading signals from deeper structures could make them much more sophisticated. maybe for understanding emotions or even cognitive augmentation down the line, and just for basic science, studying the brain in the wild, during social interactions, learning complex skills outside the artificial constraints of a lab scanner.
Okay, that all sounds incredibly promising, but let's be realistic. This is still proof of concept, right? What are the big hurdles they need to overcome?
Oh, absolutely. There are significant challenges. Right now, getting enough data for functional imaging takes about 30 minutes. That needs to be much, much faster.
Right.
Then there's generalizability. This was done on one volunteer, fair-skinned. Does it work equally well across different skull thicknesses, skin pigmentations, ages? We don't know yet. And the equipment is still pretty bulky. That PMT and the laser system need serious miniaturization to be truly portable.
Makes sense.
And perhaps the biggest technical challenge is image reconstruction. You're getting incredibly weak, noisy signals. Developing the AI and computational methods to turn that into reliable 3D images of brain activity. That's a monumental task.
And beyond the tech stuff, there's always the ethical side when you talk about reading the brain, isn't there? Especially reading deep into the brain.
Yes, absolutely. And this technology really sharpens that discussion. You've got this convergence, access to deep brain states that were previously private, the potential for portable, real-world data collection, and complex AI doing the analysis, which might be hard to understand, a black box.
It sounds like a recipe for issues.
It creates, I think, a potential perfect storm of ethical challenges.
Yeah.
How do we protect what you might call mental privacy? How do we ensure truly informed consent if brain data is being collected continuously? And what about misuse? Discrimination based on brain activity? Surveillance? These aren't sci-fi questions anymore. The whole idea of neuro rights, rights to cognitive liberty, mental privacy, fair access to augmentation, it's becoming incredibly urgent. It's a conversation we all need to have, not just the scientists.
So, summing this all up then, being able to see deep inside the brain using light, it's a huge scientific leap, just fundamentally amazing. And the potential benefits for medicine, for technology, for just understanding ourselves, they're massive.
They really are. But it forces us to think very carefully about the path forward. As we get this unprecedented power to, non-invasively see the biological roots of thoughts and feelings, the biggest challenge might not just be perfecting the technology itself.
Right. It's making sure we build the ethical rules, the societal guardrails right alongside the tech. It's really a call to action for everyone, isn't it? To think about what kind of future we want when we can genuinely peer into the deepest, most private parts of the human mind.